Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is our latest installment of the library's business seminar series. This is our Carteret County Business Roundtable. The library is really excited to bring this to you. This was made possible through a grant from the NC IDEA Foundation. The library was awarded an NC IDEA Engage grant, and the purpose of the grant is to support individuals and organizations in offering events and activities that bring like-minded folks together to celebrate and promote entrepreneurship. So that was sort of the impetus behind hosting this weekly seminar series. So I want to thank Bob Graham. He's our facilitator tonight. Bob is the CEO of Breakthrough Solutions. That's a company that trains, coaches, and speaks on what he calls breakthrough skills. He's a former journalist, marketer, and college instructor, having taught at Towson University and Johns Hopkins University, among others. He's a co-author of the 55 Soft Skills That Guide Employee and Organizational Success, and co-founder and co-host of the Today's Anecdote broadcast and the Renegade Success Network. So I want to thank all of our panelists here. I want to thank those of you watching either live or through our video recording, and I will turn it over to Bob. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the EDC. They were a partner in this event and our ongoing workshop series. So thank you very much to the Economic Development Council and Michelle Query in particular. So Bob.
Awesome. Thank you, Leslie. This is a true honor for me. I love getting to talk to business leaders and owners. It's what I do in my profession. So the opportunity to get to meet people that are completely in a different world than me, that I haven't known you for more than 15 minutes, is just the greatest joy for me in the world, because I always learn from the people I talk to. And over this hour and a half that we have together, I'm hoping that we can help the folks who are contemplating new businesses or in existing businesses. I'm hoping that they'll get 3 little tidbits. That's all I want tonight. I don't want a million tidbits. I want 3 little things that I didn't know before this evening started. And I would challenge you, anyone, including the panelists, we have a nice chat function here tonight. Feel free, if there's some tidbit that someone else gives you that is useful to you, feel free to write it in the chat. I will do the same thing. It's one of the ways that often when I'm doing these kinds of presentations, people have discoveries that I wasn't aware of, or they'll quote someone and I'll be like, I didn't hear her say that. And then I go, oh, wait, they did. And I've lost it because I'll be in my own thoughts. So feel free to use the chat, whether you're a panelist or a participant. Love to see in the chat anything you have to share. It can be an insight. It can be a question. If you have a question, if something we talk about sparks a question, it would be great. I'm going to go around. My goal is to get all the panelists into this discussion. I'm going to start the ball rolling with a real simple question, and I'm going to go in the order of the people that I see. And I'm going to let you introduce yourselves in a minute or less, because you're the best introducer of yourselves. So Ed, you're first on my screen. I want you to introduce yourself and then tell us how you got into the business that you're in.
Okay, my name is Ed Stack. I am the vice president at Jarrett Bay Boat Works in Beaufort. I got into this business knowing nothing about boats, quite frankly. I am a reformed fundraiser. You guys were talking about chicken dinners earlier. I used to travel all 100 counties of North Carolina and down the Southeast raising money for college athletics. So I've eaten every kind of barbecue there is. But we were looking to, Jarrett Bay was looking to expand what we do. And I had worked with the founder and owner for a lot of years, asking him for money and doing other things as well. And so it just was, for us, was a natural fit. It was time for me to move and do something else. And he was looking to expand, and we had a great relationship. So that's how I landed here.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. So it's one of those happenstance things, and it wasn't your first career.
No, it's actually my third. I was in the textile business for
okay. I love that. That's
a lot of years.
That's a great insight, because I think a lot of people have the misconception that you can't switch careers somewhere in the middle. You're stuck in the world. If you were a banker, you're stuck being a banker for the rest of your life, even though you might want to be a seamstress or a botanist. And I think it's great that you got that right off the bat. You dispelled that myth for people.
Yeah,
So
no, I switched at 29 and I switched again at 45. So,
and you seem like you're thriving.
I'm doing okay.
Awesome, awesome. Lori Tulik, I'm going to move to you. I love your, I don't know if it's a blouse or a jacket, but I love the colorful nature of it. It says so much about spring.
Thank you.
Tell
It's
us about
blouse.
you and how you got into what you're doing.
I'm Lori Tulik. I'm a mortgage loan officer with West Home Bank and Trust. I was a real estate broker, and my go-to lender was my now manager, and we worked really well together, and she said, "I like the way you work. I want you to come to work with me." And that was 12 years ago. And I have been with, it was Albemarle Bank and Trust, and we've grown. I moved here, and when it was still Albemarle, we bought Sound Bank, and anyway, I'm here and growing.
Awesome.
So.
Great, super, thank you so much. That's great. I love another person who switched along the way. I'm going to shift to Jimmy. I let you off the hook. You said you didn't want to be first. Commissioner Jimmy Farrington, can you tell us about your business endeavors and how you got started in what you're doing now?
I'm Jimmy Farrington. I'm born and raised in Carteret County. I got into the landscaping business when I was about 17 years old. I graduated from West Carteret in 1988. And since then, we're going into our 33rd year in business. I've had a great work career. Of course, the dream job is at the other end down there with Ed Stack in my mind. I love boats and love fishing, but I really had some ambitions to go in the military or go to college and that type of thing, and it wasn't in the cards. So I started this business with a partner, and we both grew it and separated later on. Great friendship, and everything worked out really well. We started Carolina Home and Garden together, which is near where my business is now, and it's been a great experience.
Do you do commercial landscaping or residential or both?
We do both. Okay. And we do everything from, we started out in the like mowing grass and maintenance contracts and things like that. And we get into irrigation, landscaping. We do hardscaping now. We actually stepped into the pool business about 2 years ago. That's a separate company, Emerald Pool Works. And that's really going crazy now. So
awesome. Great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for that. Simone Gardner, I did not have a bio on you, but I did a little internet search, and I'm going to guess that you're the Simone Gardner of Simone Gardner Real Estate Group. Am I right? I am so good at what I do. It's great to see you here.
Simone Gardner out there, the world is in trouble.
That was kind of what led me to my internet search. I'm like, how many of them can there be? So tell us about how you got started and what you're doing now.
So I actually, my background and college degree, everything's in human service. I'm a social worker by trade, degree, and by nature. Back in 2007, the whole mental health system changed. And so I was forced, because we were laid off, so I was forced into business consulting. Literally, opportunities just dropped in my lap. I learned, didn't know what I was doing from the beginning, and had to do it. Shortly after that, started working with nonprofits, and then that dried up. So, and I moved to Eastern North Carolina. I had a divine intervention and said, go to real estate school and get your real estate license. Did not know anything about real estate. I'm a social worker and therapist by trade. Knew nothing about it, but started back, got my license in 2017 here in Carteret County, and have been going since. Started off with few brokerages here, but last May I started my own firm, and here we stand.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. That's quite the story. It sounds like you're quite happy.
I am. It's a little
Great.
challenging. It's not, but it's part of life. So yes, but I do enjoy it. I do.
If it wasn't challenging, everyone would do it, right?
You're absolutely right.
That's it. All right. Last but not least, I'm going to put Josh Lyle on the spot. Josh, tell us about what you do and how you got to this place where you're doing what you're doing.
So I own Lyle Contracting Solutions. We are a commercial metal stud, drywall, and acoustical ceiling contractor. Started the business in January of 18. I've always, so the story, I guess, see if I can do this quickly. I was good at math. I liked math.
Okay.
I was a mathlete at West Carteret High School. I placed third in the state in some competitions. So I went to the end of the award ceremony as a freshman or sophomore, and I got, my award for being a mathlete. And there's a guy in a big fancy suit, Marine, that handed this big cardboard check to one of the most popular guys in the school at the time to attend the Naval Academy. And then another guy in a blue leisure suit, the Air Force, similar check to the second most popular guy in the high school. They were both on the soccer team and, real smart guys. Everyone looked up to them. They were great, great kids. And I said, "What is that?" And I went to the counselor's office the next day. It was this academy thing. I applied to the academies because I knew I was smart at math and they were good math schools. That led to me going to the academy and then being an engineering officer because I liked math. And then in the Air Force, I got to do just enough construction to realize I really liked building. Got out of the Air Force, actually, as I was getting out of I got out of the Air Force at a time when they didn't want you to get out. And I had to write a letter, tell them why. And part of my reason was my passion is building. There's actually words I actually said. I ended up going to work for a company called Rogers Builders in Charlotte, and their motto literally is "Our passion is building." So I thought that was
Okay.
Anyway, worked there for 11 years, moved back here during part of that to do some big hospital construction. Wanted to keep working with Rogers. I love the company. It was a really well-run company. But I sort of got, not stuck. We realized we wanted to stay in Eastern North Carolina, and Rogers was going to keep moving me around. So, was sort of forced to look for other options and wanted to be a general contractor, but the competition wasn't there. So my story was really another GC in this town, in the area, and a guy who was a construction accountant, both within a week, said, "Hey, what we really need in the construction industry? Drywall contractors." And I sort of turned my nose up, drywall. Who can drywall? Anybody can need drywall. But two really smart people plugged into the industry said, "You got to look into this." And I looked into it, and sure enough, it was just a great business opportunity, and it still fits within, my passion of building. The drywall industry is much more complicated than people think. And I still get to use math every day. I just hired a recent Coast Guard graduate. He's 25 years old, and he told me just yesterday, he goes, "Man, Josh, I use more math every day now doing these estimates for you for these commercials than I ever thought I would." And I just used the Pythagorean theorem yesterday. I was like, "Yeah, man,
Wow.
it's math." So anyway.
That's the negative B over whatever, right? That one, right?
Right. Well, yeah. So.
That's all I remember. That's great, Josh. I want to go back to something you said. You said earlier that your passion was building. And then later when you were speaking, you said it was consistent with my passion. I want to know if it's possible for you to describe what the passion feels like and why you know it's your passion and how you honor it, respect it, whatever the right word is.
No, it's a good question. So, the way I explained it to to my kids, I have 3 kids, 17, 14, and 12, is that, you know, there were times when I was, you know, a general contractor, project manager, doing big construction jobs, and I would get to work at 6 a.m. when it'd be in the wintertime when it was dark, and I would be in a job site trailer on a job site until 7 p.m. at night, literally never leaving the trailer. I never saw daylight the whole day. I'd get in my car after a 13, 14 hour day, and I'd be driving home. I'd be like, whew, my brain's tired. Man, I just worked 14 hours, and I asked myself, what did it feel like? And it always felt like an 8 or 10 hour day. So as long as I was doing something that didn't feel longer than what I was actually doing, I felt like I was doing something I was passionate about. So that's, you know, maybe, I don't know if I really answered your question, but that's,
no, you did.
You know,
that was great. Does anyone else, does that ring true for the rest of you, or would you modify that slightly? Please jump in.
For me, I always say, if I would do it for free, then it's a passion for me.
Okay.
You know, when I was a social worker, I would literally do it. I mean, and I've done it for free. I'm therapy, you know, I just, for me, it's something that, you know, it's not about the money. It's not about, you know, obviously we all have to get paid. We all have to pay bills. But for me, chasing my passion is, and knowing my purpose is anything that I would chase after, and don't have to get paid for it. You know, if you ask me to clean your house, you have to pay me, because that's not a passion of mine. But
I understand that.
But I know a lady that would do it for free because that's her passion. But for me, you know, and then didn't realize how real estate merged with my other 2, you know, the counseling and the consulting piece. But it's helping people, and that's I realized that sums everything up. My passion in life is to help people, whether it's educating, empowering, and just have different methods. And so, if I would do it for free, then I think that's a passion for me.
I agree with Simone.
Go ahead, Lori. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Part of my job, I helping people as well. There's people who come to me with a 500 credit score. You know, obviously they can't buy a house, but I'll help them. You know, they'll say, well, I've gone to a credit repair agency. Well, that costs them $99 a month. And I'll say, no, don't do that. I can look at their credit report and do a what if simulator that will help them. And I can sit and look at it and say, okay, in 6 months, this is, if you'll do this, this, and this, we can get you to a point where, you know, you're in lending guidelines. And same as Simone, you know, I want to see them be able to achieve that American dream and, you know, own their own home. And it may take, I mean, I've worked with people for a year, you know, if they stick with the plan and, you know, don't go buy a new car and run up credit cards, then in a year they'll come back and say, hey, Lori, will you pull my credit? And, you know, they're able to buy a house. And, you know, and I may have to work that for free. I may never see the culmination of it, but, you know, to be able, I had one young man sit down in my office and say, I'm the first person in my family to ever buy a home. That, you know, still brings tears to my eyes, you know, to be able to help that, you know, come through and see that. I mean, that just, it gives you a good feeling.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Jimmy or Ed, you want to weigh in? You're not required to, but you can.
Sure, I would. My screen's frozen, but anyways, I would say that my passion kind of came from a construction job that I had when I was about 17 years old during the summer. Again, I went to West Carteret, but I realized that my fear of heights, I could get to about the second floor, and then that was pretty much it with the heights deal. So my passion came from keeping my feet on the ground. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I had a passion for design. So when we got into the landscaping phase, which took a couple of years, I love the part of drawing the designs, hand drawing the designs. Now we're getting into some computerized type designs, but the passion of drawing it, building it, and seeing the customer's response was the true passion. And again, I've had those long days. I know we all have. And they're not long days. They're just great experiences, meeting great people.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I couldn't agree with you more. How about you, Ed? Anything to add?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'd like the number of the person that will clean my house for free, Simone, when we get finished here. But beyond that, I think for me, the passion is doing something different, every day. I mean, I look at the different things that are on my desk, and whether it's we're looking to buy another boatyard, or we're developing a piece of property, or I'm talking to the person that manages our clothing and retail business, or our human resources manager, whatever it is, it's just got to be something different. I can't sit there and do the same thing, every day. For me, it's got to be always something in motion, always something a little bit different. And that's where my passion is. I was not like Josh. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at building anything. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I can be just good enough to move the ball down the line and get it to the right expert, or let's start this up and see where it goes. And so that's sort of, for me, has always been what I've enjoyed doing. Let me do something different, something diverse every day. And I feel really good about where I am and what I'm doing.
Which brings us to the question. You sort of started into it, and panelists, I'm going to admit right now, I'm going to go off script. So if you were following the questions I sent you, we're going to move away from it right now. Sorry about that. How does what you do now align with things you like doing? Is it 100% what you like doing? Is it 80%? Is it 60%? And what are those things that you could trace back to when you were a kid that you like doing, that you're doing now? Like for me, I loved getting to know people. My parents would tell stories about us going on vacation, and we went to cabins, and I would know everyone's story in their cabin within the first 2 hours. Shocking that I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and it doesn't bother me. It fits. I really believe that for most business leaders and most entrepreneurs, there's a connective tissue from their youth and something or many things that they liked in their youth. When they finally figure out what their passion is, there's an alignment there. So I'd be curious to, one, do you agree with my premise? And if so, tell me how you could support my premise. Anyone? Feel free.
I'll take a stab at it, Bob. And I think it goes back to the what colors your parachute, the flower diagram exercise of figure out what you love to do, what you can get paid to do, and what you're good at doing. Right?
Yep.
And because if you love basketball, but you're not good at basketball, but you're good at math, maybe you need to be an accountant for an NBA team.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Great example.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if I tie this back to my childhood, I do. And I think about this often because you are so malleable when you're young. And somehow early on, I got the label of I was good at math. That's a good point. Did I like math? I don't know. I was good at it.
Right.
Right. So I don't know if it's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies or what. And I genuinely think about that now. Now I have grown to really enjoy math. Like, I have friends of mine who will FaceTime me with their high school son's math problem that he can't figure out. And I literally do it. And then I text it to him and like, here's how I would solve it. So that, and I'm doing a job where I get to do it every single day. Through construction, it's a little more complicated, commercial construction, but Yeah, they aligned. I don't know how. I'm sure it's what you put out in the world, you sort of get back. And I've been putting out, I want to be associated with and like it, because some teacher when I was young said, man, you're good at math. And the, girl next to me wanted help with it. And I liked that attention. So
Enough said. I totally get it.
yeah, he's like, stop talking. So, no.
Anyone else want to weigh in on this issue?
I'll be glad to. I think for me, the answer is probably yes, but maybe in a less practical way. I've always been, I've always liked different things. I mean, I guess we all probably have, but in high school, I was student body president. I was in the Spanish club. I played several sports. I mean, but I don't know that I was great at any of them, but I was a contributor in all of them, and so I think for me, that's always, I talk about not being an expert in anything. I don't know that I am, but I've always been able to pick something up and sort of run with it. And as long as I can do that to a lot of different things, then then there again, that is my passion. And that's what I feel really good about doing. And I think I've had that skill for my whole life, whatever that is, get involved, become a leader in whatever it is you're doing. Don't stand on the sidelines, get engaged. And that's sort of what I do at work. That's what I do in my private life. And, when I moved to Carteret County, I said, okay, I'm going to be involved in my church. I'm going to be involved in the community, and I'm going to be involved at the university that I went to, NC State. And so those three places are where I want to give my time. So I'm going to try to get engaged somehow. What I figured out was the community. There is no shortage of getting involved in the community. Jimmy being probably the best example of that of anybody here. But I think so. I mean, I think that's, for me, there again, the diversity of tasks is what I like. And I've kind of always had that. That's always been me.
Sounds like you learned teamwork at an early phase of your life as an athlete, and you apply that teamwork to the collaboration you do. It sounds like there's a component of motivation and encouragement and mentorship that goes with what you do.
Well, there's no doubt about that. You've got to, I think, realize that there are people who know a lot more than you on particular topics, whether they're your equal and you're a teammate, or whether you're their supervisor or you're subordinate to them. But whatever it is, you've got to figure out how to engage them and get the best out of them, and them get the best out of you. So for me, that's always been, I try my best. We've all got an ego, but I try my best to squash that. And if you're better than me at something, then by all means go for it. And if, a rising tide lifts all boats. If you're successful, then I'm successful. And then we all get recognized, So I absolutely, you learn teamwork early on in sports, and then that can spill over to the rest of your life.
Awesome. Simone, you wanted to weigh in.
I was going to say, for me, it wasn't as clear. As I look back, I have a childhood friend. When I went to get my master's, I started off in criminal justice because that's where I got my undergrad in. I think most of my early adult life, I was just going through the motions. I was supposed to go to college, then get your degrees. And I started off in criminal justice and was flunking out of it because I didn't understand it on the master's level, graduate level. And so the professor I was working for said, you need to move over to agency counseling because that's what you do every day. And I was like, what do you mean that's what I do every day? And he said, you counsel people. And I didn't understand, what he meant, but okay, I'll just going through life. And a childhood friend, she said, that is what you do every day. You do counsel people every day. And so for me, I can't connect the dots You know, I know I've always been a leader, and didn't entrepreneurship was there in me, just didn't know it then. And so for me, the dots don't connect quite. You know, they're probably there if someone else is looking at my life and know me. You know, I real estate is entirely different, opposite spectrum of business consulting and counseling and social work. But I
Maybe
know
not. I could argue that it's really not.
It's really not.
and I feel like I'm a social worker with a case manager. And see, you know, in that area, you know, calling sound bank, calling, you know, so connecting the dots there, being that middle person, I do. And so for me, you know, I just don't see the dots connecting, but other people do. So in case someone's out there that doesn't see the dots connecting, just know they probably do connect. And you're not the unicorn out there. So
Okay, great. I'm going to shift to a different question. This has two parts. What was the problem that you identified that you were going to solve for your customers? And what is the actual problem that your customers would tell me that you solved? And the reason I ask that is we talked about this a bit over the last couple of weeks. So again, what is the problem that you thought that you were solving? Maybe it was for yourself, maybe it was something. And what is it if I talk to your customer, they would say, that's what they do? I know it's not the easiest question. Jimmy, you look like you're ready to jump into this. I can tell.
I would say that well, let me go back one thing. I have, like I say, I was born and raised in Carteret County, and I really know nothing else. And I'm really proud of that, because I really haven't gone anywhere else and seen other things. My daughter lives in Youngsville, and I've seen, you know, her and her career there, and her husband. So I would, just going back to the last question really quick. Mm-hmm. As far as answering what I've solved, when we first started our business, I think I learned from my brothers. There's about a 9-year difference between me and my middle brother. I was a late child, and it's really, really unique. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and each one of us are entrepreneurs. We all own our own businesses, and that's how it's been since high school. Not one of us had the college experience. But what I think happened when we started the business, Brian Watson and I, in 1988, I think and his dad was a builder. I think we realized the value of customers here. A lot of absentee homeowners on the Bogue Banks. I live in Emerald Island, have lived there since I was about 5 years old. Mm-hmm. And I think we really, and there was a couple companies in Carteret County that were providing yearly service for customers. And I think if I went back and I understand your question correctly, I think we found a solution for customers that are rarely here. They're only here during the summer months and a little bit maybe in the fall and spring. We found a solution to take care of their properties, and I think we really made them feel comfortable with that. Is that?
Yeah. So
that's how I would answer your last question.
So they don't have to worry about their property if they disappear from it for a month or 2 months, because it's going to still look great when they come back.
That's right. And that particular part was very unique for us. We have met so many people that own properties, not just on the Bogue Banks, but Morehead City, Swansboro, that have moved here, a lot of retirees. And I think we really gave them, you know, peace of mind. And I think that's really what helped our business grow, was starting on that. And I've never forgotten that. That's still a big part of our business, is year-round lawn service and taking care of the customer.
I love that idea, Jimmy, of giving them peace of mind, because I find that so much of what we do in business is helping people on an emotional level. It may be that we're cutting grass or we're fixing their car, but it's really about giving them peace of mind. And I think that's great that you brought that up. So thank you. Who else would like to weigh in on this? How you went from the problem you recognized that you could solve to what your customers actually are looking for? I got head scratching. I'm doing my job well now. What do you think, Josh?
So in January of 18, when I left working for the GC, started my own, drywall business, I went around and met with, I think, something like 30 general contractors in East North Carolina. And what they all told me was that there was only a handful of companies doing what we call turnkey drywall, meaning they frame the walls, they hang the walls, they finish the walls, they provide labor, material, equipment. It's one contract. What many of them were saying was they'd have to hire one person to frame the wall, another person to insulate, another person to hang it. The GC was having to buy the material, and because it is a bunch of small companies that do the labor only components. So they all wanted somebody they were having to write 5 contracts and they wanted one person.
Sure.
Great. I'm the man, let's do this. And I would submit a bid and, my bid would be $35,000. And they'd call me up, man, I really want to use you. But, we only had $32,000 in our budget. Okay, cool. Well, how did you budget that? Was that with you writing 5 contracts? Oh, yeah. Like, well, yeah, that difference is me managing that all for you.
Right.
So I got frustrated because that was, they kept complaining about their current system. And I was like coming here with the solution, but they wanted it for free. And, so I did, with time, they saw my value and the ones that then could finally budget the proper money because they were spending that money anyway. They were spending
their own time.
Right. They in their own other, right. It was just in a different category in their budget. So it was real. I mean, I got really frustrated because the meetings would be great. And then, when the rubber hits the road, they're like just missing the point. So that was a frustration, but the ones that got it. And then I found that some just they really didn't want it to. They wanted to complain about it, but they were still going to do it the same old way they were doing it. And I
guess you realize those ultimately were not your customers.
That's right.
And do you think over time, as you were dealing with the frustration, they started to understand what you did, or you got better at explaining it?
Probably both. Depending on the client, right? Yeah, some of them. Yeah, the ones that stuck with me, they get it. They'll tell you, man, I love it. I'm dealing with Josh now. I'm not dealing with 4 different people, right? I deal with Josh. Our company motto is we do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it, which sounds so
that's
simple.
Crazy, Josh. You can't be in construction.
Right. But, the construction is made up of a bunch of underachievers. One of my construction mentors told me that. And I was very offended. I'm like, I'm not an underachiever. And he goes, no, Josh, don't. He goes, we typically don't do what we say we're going to do. And he goes, for example, go ask any of your friends not in construction. Go ask them if they're going to go build a new house right now. What would it be? And they'd all say, oh, it's going to be over budget and behind schedule. Well, why is it? It's because the construction industry has sold this bill of goods that things are harder than they actually are because we just don't do what we're a bunch of the construction industry is a bunch of underachievers. You do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and you look great. So my clients that I've really built good relationships with, they'll tell you the difference is when I say something, when I say we're going to do it, we do it. And if we can't, because we all make mistakes, I call immediately to say, hey, I'm not going to be there Monday. Turns out this other thing happened. I didn't finish that job. It's going to be Wednesday. But so if I was on your job right now and not done, wouldn't you want me to stay and finish? And then they all say, yeah, of course. So anyway.
How many of you find that customer service is ultimately the most important thing you provide your customers? I know that sounds like a silly question, but I was teaching college students at Johns Hopkins University, and that was one thing they didn't care about. They wanted to create great solutions to problems. And then it was like, Yeah, they'll find it. And, so it doesn't work perfectly. They'll have to understand, because this is the best I can do right now. It's like, I don't know if that's really how you want to roll with that. And some of these were mobile apps where the students would be like, yeah, if you get to a certain point, it's not going to work for you. I'm like,
Customer
I'm
service
sorry.
is lost these days.
What's that?
I said customer service is lost these days. And so I find my customers love that I'm nationally licensed. So
Okay.
I get phone calls from all over the country and from Bahrain. I work with the military.
Okay.
And
I was going to say Bahrain isn't in our country, to my
I know,
knowledge.
exactly. So, and I thought the first call was a spam call, so I didn't answer it. But they left a message. But, so I find myself answering the phone, all times of day and night, because, if you're a service person that's transferring, this is transfer season right now. And for the Coast Guard.
Sure.
And so they have to get pre-qualified so that they can, it's a hot market for anybody. And especially, realtors are showing houses, they're doing FaceTime, showing them houses. Well, they don't go from 9 to 5. They need to get pre-qualified at night or on weekends. And, so they need somebody to pick up a phone and talk to them or answer an email. And this is the age of technology. There's no excuse not to answer. So
I couldn't agree with you more. Simone, what about you in customer service? I'm sure at the Simone Gardner Real Estate Group, that's a big issue, right?
No. I hope not. And if it is a big issue,
I mean not a negative thing. It's one of the things that probably, if you're as successful as you look, it's probably because you deliver on customer service. I mean, yes, that you don't screw up.
I am a firm believer in excellent customer service, regardless of what you're doing. And is it Lori?
It's Lori, yes.
She said, customer service is a failed art now. It's just, as the college student said, because people, we just don't operate in excellence anymore. We always fall short because we feel as if people are going to pay for it anyway. But the reality of it is, maybe if we would raise our standards and stop accepting everything, it would cause other people and companies to step up their game. And I've had clients come to me and say, you answer your phone, you respond to emails, and you're there. And I'm like, Lori, I actually had to start setting boundaries because I was answering phones too late. And I was like, wait. then they get comfortable with calling you at 12 o'clock midnight. So I had to set boundaries for myself. But yes, that is an absolute must. And with bringing on other agents, it's a must that, customer service is our first priority. If you don't think that this client is for you, then we need to refer them elsewhere, because the last thing I don't want to ever go into a company or a business where I'm spending my money and get awful customer service, because you pay us. That's how we eat. That's how we pay our bills.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a and I'm not one to even go on Yelp or anything like that to write bad reviews or good reviews.
Right.
But I think it's just, even going into Walmart, I just think it's important that, everyone is treated like they are the only person there.
Well, it's interesting because I work with some companies who have younger employees, and there's a real difference in the perspective about customer service when you talk to someone over 40 and someone 24. I have one company where the employees are like, we're doing the best we can. I'm like, no, the customer emailed you at 9 a.m. and it's 4:30. Why wasn't an email sent to them within a half hour? Well, really? They'll wait. We have their car. They'll wait. They have no choice. And it's like, they have lots of choices. And I think it's going to be hard for employers in the coming years to teach customer service to a younger generation that doesn't appreciate, doesn't value it, and frankly, doesn't go into stores a whole heck of a lot. I have nieces and nephews who buy things on Overstock, Wayfair, sight unseen, and to them, customer service is, I can access it at 4 a.m. and it's delivered to my house in a box 2 days later. That's a different paradigm than I think most of us, because I think most of us are a little older. It's a different paradigm.
Well, and I think, I believe that you said that it's going to be hard for companies to teach. I don't think companies demand it anymore. I don't think, I remember my first job was McDonald's, and, we lived in a world of VHS tape. And we sat for 2 weeks and we watched those videos, and we knew that you couldn't stand around, and you couldn't, you had to be active. I don't care if you wiped the counter 15 times because you had to continuously, look like you were busy, and you
put another napkin in that napkin holder one at a time.
Customers when they come in, and I think the reason that, and I think we all know, the business that they my pleasure, it's because they train, and those employees are young people, and it's because I think what has happened is the company's mindset have changed, which allows for the lackluster attitude of the young people to come in. My niece is the same way. She has a business, and she'll say, well, what I don't want to do this t-shirt for this person. Well, no, you're going to, she had an attitude with me, but you're going to treat her the same way if she's spending $10 as if she's spending $1 million, because you never know, one, the same way you want to be treated. But I think that the problem lies in the companies, not with the employees or the kids, because if they want a job, they're going to learn, and when they're held to a higher standard, then they will perform at a higher standard. But that's true.
Well, we're real careful in our office. Most of the time our customers will come and they'll have their attorney, their real estate agent will have it. But if they're refinancing or something, they'll ask, who we recommend, or, and, we'll give them a list of attorneys, and we've had problems with different ones, and we have one, so we're careful in referring, because that's a reflection on our office. So if that, whether it's an attorney's office or an insurance agent or whatever, if they don't perform like we do, and give that same customer service, it's a reflection on us, my team and I, and we've had to finally just stop referring one office just because the horrible customer service.
Wow.
And it's sad because I actually had a conversation. I won't say what kind of office it was, but and said, I'd like to do business with you, but it's sad because my customer came out and they were just horrified. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to weigh in on this, Josh?
I'll weigh in quickly if I can.
Please.
What I tell my employees is that all business is sales business, right? No matter what your role is, the company thrives on getting more business. So everybody in the business is part of that. You're selling that business. You're either, the way you interact with your customer either brings a customer back again, or it makes them decide to go somewhere else. And we have gotten, we've gotten projects. We haven't been the low bidder on jobs, but my estimators, in corresponding with the GCs, we always respond quickly. They send us a question, give them an answer. And I genuinely have picked up a lot of work because the GC says, man, you're the only guy that's responded to all my questions. Look, you're a little high, but I'm going to use you anyway because I need someone that's responsive. So, and that's what I say, all business is sales business, and the sales decision from the purchasing person, whether it's a business or a person, is one, it's based on price, and it's based on the way you make them feel. And, that's, the companies that don't do it, that's fine. Let them be like that, because they're not going to last, right? You don't respond, the reason Chick-fil-A does such a good job on fast food sales compared to other fast food is because people feel good when they leave it, because everyone says my pleasure when they, you know, are what? It's everybody is selling there. So anyway, all business is sales business.
I love all business is sales business. Help me understand this though, because I know there are going to be some people that are watching this and they're going, I really don't want to be a salesperson. So how do we reconcile that? How have you, if that was something you went through, how did you reconcile it?
Right, and that's the whole point. And you're right. I guess there's a fine line. I tell them that to say, yeah, you're not a salesman.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a salesman. You're an estimator. You're a project manager. But your interactions with our customer is what sells our business and what keeps the business coming back. I don't have a salesman.
What if I start a business, Josh? I'm on my own because my company, it's me and me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the sales, I'm the worker, I'm the customer service, I'm HR, you name it. I have had some trouble in the past with being the salesperson. When I have to put that hat on and do the sales calls, that can be awkward for me. Did you ever feel that in your process that, you know, I really don't feel comfortable going out and telling them 3,500 when I know the other guy's 3,200? And you said you were frustrated because they didn't understand your value. Did you ever question your ability to sell?
No, it's a great question. And I think part of that is the stigma that I think our society has sort of put on sales. It invokes the used car salesman. And that's why I say it so much, to try to make it different. We're not used car salesmen, right? But all business is about sales. If you don't have income, if you don't have revenue coming in, the business is dead. So no, I mean, and I don't know, Bob. I like sales. I like the getting in front and selling myself and my business. You know, Ed can vouch for that. Ed and I are pretty good buddies, and he's had to hear me talk a lot. But you know, but no, your point, and that's why I say it to my employees that maybe aren't comfortable sales is to try to normalize it and not make it like it's this bad thing or this thing that you have to have a certain skill set for. And it's sales, and it's being, in my world, they do it by simply being responsive. You get an email, you return the email. You get a call, you return the call. I mean, that's sales business. Just do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. That's the end of it.
Well, and if I can piggyback on that just a little bit, I think Simone honestly hit the nail on the head. It's treating people like you want to be treated. You know, at the end of the day, if you're not a good salesperson, but you're genuine, people are going to buy from you. You know, you may not be that flashy person that's out front and the whole stereotype of a salesperson, but if you're genuine, then people are going to appreciate that, and they're going to want to come to your store or whatever the case may be. We build really nice custom sport fishing boats that, you know, they're from about 50 feet long to the biggest we build is 90 feet long. So the people that are our customers, and we launch about one a year. So we're not, you know, it's not like we've got a ton of product out there that we've built, but, you know, folks will come in and they're going to want to, you know, this is a captain of industry. This is somebody that owns businesses all over the country. That is, maybe you might see them on television talking about business, or they may be a billionaire, or who knows what they may be. But they want to, when they come to see us, they've got their jeans on and they got a ball cap on, and they want to talk to that person that is making the steps that go from the salon down into the staterooms, because they want to see what that person is all about. And they want to understand, you know, how they made those steps look like the most beautiful steps they've ever seen. And they really want to understand that process. And so although that person, that carpenter that's there building those steps, is not a salesperson, they're selling all the time. If that customer is there, and all that they may have nothing else in common. You know, the carpenter may go to his Chevy pickup truck and the customer may go to his Mercedes Benz after they meet. But while they're together, you know, all they're talking about is the stairs that he's building. But to them, that's very important. And our person understands that their role is to help make that person feel important and make them understand what they're doing, you know, is important. And so it's really, I mean, there again, Simone hit the nail on the head. It's really treating people like you want to be treated. You know, they're equals as they're standing there talking. And that's, you know, that's the pretty cool thing about sales. You don't have to be flashy. You just got to be real, you know?
Awesome. It's funny you were bringing up the whole steps into the stateroom. Leslie was complaining about that on her yacht just the other day, that those steps were like 1/8 of a degree off, and it was really driving her crazy. So
we can take care of that. We can fix that. Yeah, absolutely. Bring your yacht out to us, Leslie. We got it covered.
You know, we talked over the last couple of weeks, a couple of times I mentioned the great quote from Bob Berg, whose book is The Go-Giver. And I don't know if you've read that, but in his book, he talks about we buy from the people we know, like, and trust. Know, like, and trust. And getting to your point, Josh, it's not always about price. If you're the guy who answers someone's questions, price goes out the window. I bought the most expensive option because that person answered the question, or they came to my house at 7:30 on a Friday morning to me. And it's like, oh, that was so convenient. If they can do that service for me, I trust that they can do what I'm going to pay them to do. And I think it's a real important point that we can't talk about enough, which is really delivering to people what they need. And I'm sure you've all experienced this. I know I do. What they need and what they want can sometimes be very different. And I think that's great. By the way, Leslie is doing a great job of putting the books that we mentioned in here, and I'm going to make her work in a minute because I'm going to shift gears and ask you 2 more questions. We're getting near the end. The first one is, tell us a few things you wish you knew when you started this business that you've discovered along the way.
Bob?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I think it kind of reflects back to that last comment, and you're in Baltimore, Maryland, correct?
Indeed. Yep.
Okay. Well, and I'm sure the other panelists will realize that Carteret County is a unique place, it's number one, there's not enough people here to get all the work done for all the great people who come here and buy properties or visit here or coming in now and buying real estate. I agree with Ed. We started out as I told you before, but now we're doing very large jobs and we're booked out. We're not building boats, but in some cases it almost feels like we're building yachts. We stay booked out about anywhere from 4 to 6 months, and it's a unique place we live in. But if I had to look back, I would go back to the question before that, and it is I would say that I would call myself a good salesman. I feel good talking to people and really getting to know them. But I should have probably, the lessons I've learned now is I should have started allowing more people to do my sales at an earlier state. I have a gentleman that works for our company and a partner in the pool business now that's been with me for about 28 years. He brought a great work ethic from Poughkeepsie, New York, came here, got off a motorcycle, walked up to me and my partner and said, I can do this, 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 and this. And, we're like, oh yeah, right. But anyways, he's now the manager. He's my right hand, and his sales and his designs and customer service is what's really grown my business. And over the past several years, we've added more and more people. So, lessons learned, if you have the business and you're in an environment like we are, let these people flourish, and let the guy building the stairs tell them, the stairs can be more beautiful with this. I mean, the sales are constant. Great answers from everyone tonight.
Great. Lori, you look like you wanted to weigh in. What have you learned that you wish you knew when you started on this?
Just, I guess, really just having the confidence at the beginning to sell myself more. I could sell houses, but it's always been hard for me to sell myself, if that makes sense. In this business, kind of like Josh was saying, when you have to justify that bottom line, it's difficult. And somebody can go on loandepot.com and get a quote. Well, there's a lot of hidden, that tiny print and hidden fees that they're going to be hit with later on down the road when they get close to closing, or they're not going to have a responsive loan officer. So for me, that's, as I've built my business, and just in the last 5 years, I've grown tremendously. And it's because people know I pick up the phone and I am responsive, and that I'm true to my word. And so all of that matters to my customers. And I have repeat business and referrals. And so it's just, you need to be able to believe in yourself and pass that on and show them your worth and your value.
That almost makes it sound to me, Lori, like you believe that you're selling yourself first and the houses are second. Is that accurate?
Well, and at this point now, it's the loan products, but yes.
I'm sorry, the loan products.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I apologize.
No, you're fine. Yes, that's very true. It is, because, and I actually just bought a shirt that says "Never Not Working," because when I go out, when
Love
you
the
go,
double negative.
that's right. But when we go out, I mean, it's a small community, and when you go out, I always have my business card. My best friend she's an insurance agent, and we are always talking to people, and it seems like one or the other of us is asked for our business card, and then the other, and it happens. And I was at dinner with a friend this past weekend who I had met at dinner one night last summer. And from that dinner, she got pre-qualified the next day and bought a house the following week, just from meeting her. And,
wow.
And it's just, you have to be open and available for those opportunities, but, you're always working. Like Josh said, I mean, I'm always on, and and you just have to be aware.
I think we're all always on.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think entrepreneurs and people starting businesses don't realize. But I dress a certain way even on weekends. You will never see me unshaven, hair messed up. It just doesn't happen, because that's invariably the time that someone walks up to me that could be a potential client. And it's like, I hate saying, I don't normally look like this, because if I look like this right now, what am I saying? So I'm with you completely.
Yeah.
Anyone else talk about this issue?
Sure,
Josh.
something that I didn't know when I started that I wish I did. And, for those considering starting a business, this may initially sound negative, but it's not. I have way more stress owning my own business versus working for somebody, but I have way less dread. You got to think about that for a minute.
I like that.
Right? My stress level has gone way up. but I love coming to work every morning. I'm not, there's very few things associated with my job that I dread. And here's the thing, I was doing my passion. I was building when I worked for a large general contractor. I dreaded so many aspects of my job that I was building these big hospitals, but I dreaded all these meetings I had to do, all the justification of my decisions to my bosses and other, things that just seemed wasting of my time and inhibited my ability to do my job, right? Those things are all gone. The buck stops with me, right? There's very few things I dread doing now. My stress is through the roof, but when I was working for someone else, I went to bed every night with, not too much stress because I figured, you know what, I'm doing this job as good as anyone they could hire to do it.
Yep.
Right. So I'm not going to, worry about it. I'm annoyed. I got to go explain it tomorrow to so-and-so, but whatever, I'm doing as good a job. Now I got 14 employees that depend on me, and I genuinely lay awake at night stressed out. But in the morning when I get up, I'm ready to go to work and I'm excited about what I'm doing. So way more stress, way less dread. And it was sort of an aha moment I had probably about, a year into the business. So
awesome.
Another way to put it.
If you're losing sleep, Josh, you and I need to talk at some point real soon. I've got some strategies for you.
There you go.
Simone, Ed, what do you think? What are some things that you learned that you didn't know when you started what you're doing?
It's okay to be your authentic self, and it's okay not to market or drum up business the way others in the same industry. My first brokerage, it's a cookie cutter. They do things cookie cutter. They tell everyone to do the same thing. And when you talked about salesmen, every time they said sales, I just used to hyperventilate because I am not, I'm just not, but I'm a consultant. Someone said to me, you're not making anyone buy a house or sell their house. You're consulting with them. And that was just a gateway for me. And so for me, I don't go, they teach real estate agents to go door knocking. I'm not, before COVID, I'm not going to knock at someone's door. But I will speak to a group of future homeowners. That's my sweet spot. And so, and working with this regular people. And so I wish I had known, as Lori said, about being confident, in who you are and in doing things your way. And it's okay that if it's not the way everyone else does it. The world is not short on real estate agents. But we all have our different sweet spots, and some people it's a cookie cutter. But I wish I'd known that it's okay to be confident in who you are. One, to be confident in who you are, and it's okay to be your authentic self and doing things your way and finding your niche in drumming up business.
I actually think that's one of the ways that we can be more successful more easily, is leaning into who we really are. The more I do that, the more success comes to me. The more I do what everyone tells me what to do, I kind of don't feel authentic. I feel like I'm just following the script. And, these workshops are a perfect example of that. I'm leaning into who and what I am. They're different than a lot of workshops. This discussion is different than a lot of workshops, but this is true to me. Take it or leave it. And I think that's something that is hard to really recognize and understand. Ed, what do you think? What have you learned?
I think, and really looking at the history of our company is what helped me with this. It's don't be afraid to evolve. A lot of people say I do this and they get stuck in that rut because they think that's their wheelhouse. But what they miss out on is all the other stuff that's outside of that wheelhouse, and our company started, our founder was a charter boat captain, and he wanted to build himself a boat. And he did, and he and his partner, and they built a unique boat that was different at the time than what everybody else was running. And so people came to him and said, "Hey, will you build us a boat?" No, we're charter boat captains. We're not boat builders. And after somebody, you know, kind of the American dream, wrote a number on a piece of paper and said, "Will this build me a boat?" He said, "Yes, that will build you a boat." And they built that next boat for somebody else. They had no idea they were going to be boat builders. And then they started building charter boats. And then somebody came and wanted something a little fancier than a charter boat. And now I don't know if our guys could even build a charter boat, because they've been building everything to yacht finishes for so long. You know, they would look at a charter boat and say, this is not what we do. It's a great boat,
Right.
and it serves an unbelievable purpose, but you know, we've got a whole different level of finish that we're doing. And if you would have asked, you know, Randy Ramsey, who owns our company, if you would have asked Randy 35 years ago if he would, you know, are you going to be building a 90-foot yachts 35 years from now, his answer would have been absolutely not. You know, I want to go out and fish. And so, I mean, it's just don't be afraid to let that evolution happen, because it could really lead to some pretty awesome places.
That's awesome advice. I love all the things you're saying. I've got one last question for all of you. I hope I don't put you on the spot with this, but tell me your favorite business book and why. And part of why I'm doing this is I want to see if Leslie can keep up with them, because she's been putting all the titles in the chat. I'm sure she'll put it in an email to all of the people who are watching this on recording. So favorite business book and why? What do you got? Everyone's going searching for best business books. What book?
I'm just gonna go ahead and be honest, so I can get this over with. I told you I was not, you know, a good math student. I don't know that I was the best student at anything either. So when I take the time to read, I read about the history of America, Revolutionary War, whatever. I read history books. Josh and I are involved in a little group that talks politics and economics and that sort of thing. And, you know, they'll throw some books out. We got one guy in our group who reads more business books. I mean, he could have answered this question 27 times about the books he read last month. That's not what I read when I take the time to read.
Do you find that the history books you read apply to your business in any way? Are you able to make correlations?
Absolutely. The same problems that they were facing in, 1776 we're facing today. You know, it's people, it's motivating them, it's solving problems and how you approach that. And, yes, I mean, there are certainly things that are applicable to what we do today. There's no doubt about that.
So that's a business book. If you're getting a business lesson from it, I've read magazine articles in Self Magazine that have been useful to my business.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Who else has a book? Anyone got a book?
Yeah, I'm actually pulling up Amazon right now and looking at the different books. I read a lot of economics books. I have The Data Detective on my nightstand right now, and the other one I just started is Thinking Fast and Slow.
Yes, the Daniel
Kleinman or something.
Yes, that's it. That is an awesome book.
So I'm haven't finished that yet, but yeah, that one is. And actually, the gentleman on our group text, Ed, mentioned, who reads tons of books and is always throwing things out at us. I texted him about it because as I was reading the book, I was like, this sounds like some of the things he would say to us in our text.
Yeah.
And he responded, he goes, top 10 favorite book he's ever read.
Yes.
So to me, the Thinking Fast and Slow, I hope will probably be a really high one on my list.
I've been reading it. I've read it now 3 times, and each time I've read it, I've gotten a deeper understanding. It is not a quick read, easy read first time through. In fact, I used to teach it. And the students, imagine college students reading it, and they just wanted to get it done. And I'm like, no, there's a lot to it. And some of them would go back to it later and be like, this is really brilliant. Any other book suggestions we have here? What do you got, Jimmy?
My favorite book, and this related back to the old days when I used to surf. Rich Dad Poor Dad was a
very
great
nice.
book. I loved it because I don't know how to pronounce the man's name that wrote the book, but you know he invented the Velcro surf wallet
Yes.
in Hawaii. But anyways, and it's kind of funny. I read that book probably about 10 years after I was in business. I did read a lot of magazines, a lot of things about design and that type of thing. So I probably got it more from magazines. But the Rich Dad Poor Dad story was really the story of my life. I mean, my partner Brian, his father was a builder. He actually started in the gas. Well, actually, they pretty much built most of the commercial buildings on Emerald Isle way back in the day. But Larry Watson is his dad, and my dad was a wonderful man, a retired Marine. But I would say that probably couldn't give me a whole lot of entrepreneurial experience. He really. I really got a lot of that, and it was really unique because when I read that book, I got pretty emotional because Larry Watson, he didn't just, you know, they built one of the first hotels in Emerald Isle. It was called the Sandra D. And then they went into the grocery business and the gas business, and then finally he found his passion, that was building, and Brian and I started, I was 18, Brian was 19. So we kind of grew up with his dad. Again, my dad being a little bit older, since I was younger, I was the youngest child. And that book was very emotional to me. And I would suggest whoever hasn't read it to read it. It's a great book. That was pretty much the story of my life.
Awesome. Great contribution. Lori or Simone, give me the business book on your shelf that you read all the time.
I've read The Secrets of Six-Figure Women.
Oh, I like that.
And then The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Those are two solid choices. I don't know the first one, but I can only imagine. The second one is probably, if I had to say, the one business book that will change things for people, that's it. Yeah, that's great. How about Simone?
I'm with Jimmy, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, with Robert Kiyosaki, I think his name is.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent book. Excellent,
yes.
Excellent book. And The Wealth Choice by Dennis Kimbrough.
Yes.
It's filled with, just wealthy African-American entrepreneurs, and just one of my faves.
Awesome.
Bob, what's the book? Man, I read it years ago about the hedgehog philosophy.
Oh, I'm totally blanking. It's been so long.
But yeah, you know what I'm.
Yes. Oh.
Hold on.
It'll come to me. But I'm going to let you all have 10 extra minutes of your life, because I know we said we were going to go till 7:30, but you have been a great group of people that really shared some serious insights. I can't tell you how much I've learned tonight. I know the people watching are going to just totally understand business. It's one thing to talk about theoretically. It's another to actually talk to people who are doing it day to day. So I want to thank you for your openness, your willingness to share with us. I also want to thank Michelle and Leslie for getting a great panel. This has been awesome. I had a little trepidation. That's it, from good to great. Thank you. There you go, Josh. I was right there.
That actually might be the best business book. Now that I'm thinking about it, that might be the single best business book I've ever read.
I put in top 3. Right. Absolutely. I had some trepidation about doing this kind of format with people I'd never met and didn't know anything about. You guys far exceeded my expectations. You further reinforced my secret desire to move down to your area, it just keeps growing with every interaction I have. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your time. We will be sharing this. We'll share all those book suggestions with you. And our last week of this program is next week. And Leslie and I are going to talk about funding sources, ways to actually make your business work and ways to find money. And not all of them are complicated. I've got a couple of ways that I've found money that you don't even have to sign a bank loan. You will be shocked how easy it can be. And we're also going to talk about some grants and some other opportunities, right, Leslie?
Absolutely. We're going to have links for entrepreneurs who maybe have just started, they're in their first or second year, or they need that capital startup just to get going. So we will have all that information for our business seminar attendees next week. And also too, I want to make sure I plug our Grow with Google event. The library was awarded a Grow with Google grant. And so we are hosting a certified Google trainer on April 1st. And it is designed to help all business owners at any point in their business access all of the free Google products to help elevate their business.
You all should make sure one of your employees goes to that. Seriously, it's a great opportunity to really get some inside information. Your marketing person or whoever does your IT or your SEO stuff, really, it's valuable stuff. It's a real value. So I leave you with
the
that.
link in the chat. So make sure you register for that event. I just posted it in the chat.
Super. Thank you again, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. This has been awesome. I am honored to have spent the time with you. Be well, and I hope that I will get down there one day and meet all of you in person. So I might just walk in your door one day.